Welcome to the video Through the Eyes of Terror. And I am Aisha Shiba, and I would like to bring out a certain topic which I have actually shared in various events where I have spoken before, and even to clients and students, because I feel that it's very important for us to understand the basic fundamentals of how this realm functions. And one of the things that I wanted to mention was this very title, Through the Eyes of Terror, is actually supposed to be extended as Through the Eyes of a Terrorist. Now, who do we define these days as a terrorist? Who is a terrorist? A terrorist, as according to us now, unfortunately, because of all the, I don't know how many incidents that go on every day around the world where individuals or groups and cults are harming other people and causing terror in the hearts and minds of young and old around the world because of their acts. These are the kind of people that we refer to as terrorists. And they don't come in any particular shape, form, size, culture, religion, race, nothing. Okay? A terrorist is basically just someone who has caused some kind of harm to another person, or to cause terror to someone else. Now, unfortunately, we've had to live with several such incidents over the years, and we all know the kind of impact it's had to the world, because these acts not just end with an incident, they cascade into our daily lives. They cascade into the way we perceive the world. There are conflicts these days between countries, between communities, between neighbors, between religions and races and faiths and everything. They're just dissecting everything because we're trying to trace terror. But the truth is, you cannot basically trace terror, because terror does not belong to any community, race, religion. It does not belong to any of that. It basically has the potential to belong to anyone, anywhere. And this does not depend on the resources that you're surrounded with. It does not depend on whether you're rich or poor, or whether you're born in a first world country or a third world country. It does not matter. What matters is we have to look at the roots of where it all begins. Every soul incarnates, and we come here, and we arrive here as an innocent, pure, beautiful soul and an energy of light from the other side, as a baby. So when anyone looks at a baby, regardless of whether the baby was born in Afghanistan, or if it was born in the USA, or in a very posh home in Europe, it doesn't matter where the baby comes from, it's a baby. And we all look at it with a lot of love, and we go, oh, that's so sweet, all of that. All right? So where does it change? Where does it change from that? How do we all become different components of different parts of the civilization? How does that even happen? How does one person turn into a president? How does another person turn into a humanitarian? How does the one person turn into a beautiful being of light who transmits constantly this amazing light of healing and love to the world? How does it happen that one person just suddenly steps out and decides he or she wants to mess up everybody's lives? It's conditioning. Because we're all born as children. We have different missions. Yes, we do. We're born with different missions. And our higher selves are aware of these missions. So do we have a certain willpower with the way we can become, with the way we can evolve? Yes, we do. We do have a free will, because the boundary that is set around us is the mission, the purpose that you're here. But you have a free will to play around it. We make millions of decisions every single throughout every single lifetime. And each decision takes us to the next point, to the next point, to the next point, to the next point. All right, so it's about decisions that define us towards our destiny. Now, there are some people, it's very common nowadays for the internet population to quickly jump to the keyboards and want to make a comment or judgment. All right? So I don't want you to just jump at me right now, because what I'm going to tell you may be sensitive for some of you. You see, some of you think, oh, it's about religion. It's about a particular faith where, they are taught to, basically hurt and scare people into kind of some kind of control. Yes, I'm not denying that in our history, there have been people of certain faith, and there still are, who claim to, inflict fear on people so as to bring some kind of control. That has happened for ages. But today, when we look at terrorism, when we look through the eyes of a terrorist, you do not know the story that lies behind those eyes. The conditioning that took all of their lifetimes to get to that point where the person is conducting that act. We're quick to judge, but those eyes could have been anybody's eyes, could be yours, could be mine. So I'm not saying that we should embrace someone who's into terrorism. I'm not saying we should embrace everyone. I'm saying that we should raise our children responsibly, because everything begins at home. No matter regardless of whether you raise your child in a very luxurious environment or you raise your child in a hut, in a village that does not have access to even the internet. It does not matter where you raise your child. It is what you raise your child within. So as parents, as a community, as a global civilization, we are all in a way responsible for the kind of information we put out there, because even if you're not a parent, even if you are not someone who feels, obliged to always, make sure that you put out the right stuff and anything that is right for children to watch. That's not what I'm saying. We have to be responsible, because as a community, as a global population, civilization, we need to be aware that we, as ourselves, we want to be exposed to the right environment. We want information that thrives in our souls. Information that helps us to evolve into better beings. Information that does not threaten you constantly. You see, a child could be born in Syria, for instance, under extreme poverty, danger, all of this. Now, every little act, every little experience, every moment will have a certain perception in the child's mind. The same applies for someone who could be sitting in a mansion, a baby who's born in a mansion and has everything he or she would want. Everything is given, except maybe the parent's love. Maybe the parent just feels, just keep giving the gifts, just keep providing whatever he or she wants, so that, that would somehow compensate our presence. Whatever it is, we have to be responsible as people to ensure that the generations that come ahead will not feel the need to allow such negative thoughts into their minds. It doesn't matter if you have a lot to give your child or nothing to give your child, because that is all materialism. What matters is what you give your child within. What kind of lessons, what kind of ethics and morals and love and peace, compassion that you put into the child, that matters. So, through the eyes of terror, there is a story behind every pair of eyes. There's a story behind every pair of terrorists' eyes. It could come from a story of abuse. It could come from a history of extreme pain, neglection, betrayal, frustrations. It could come from a whole lot of things that we don't know about. But that does not mean that we judge them or leave them alone. It means that we have to be more careful about the way we raise our children, no matter who you are, no matter what kind of environment your child is raised in. Your responsibility still remains the same. You do not compensate your presence, your love, your affection, your listening ear with objects, gifts. And the same thing happens in a third world country. You do not give your child an excuse of poverty. You do not give your child an excuse of danger constantly, or confusion or frustrations, to raise the child into believing that he or she has to hate everything outside. The hatred, the frustrations, all of these have an effect no matter where your child is. So through every baby's eyes, as he or she grows, it's not about the resources that lies outside, but it's about what the people who raise the child teach the child, allow the child to perceive. Allowing exposure is a different thing, because that cannot always be avoided. You cannot blindfold your child throughout life, but you can definitely educate the child into perceiving the world from eyes that can look with love, with affection, with peace, no matter what happens outside, knowing that he or she can still thrive, can still live peacefully, and not have to inflict any kind of pain, any kind of suffering on others in order to set right whatever did not seem right in his or her life. So that is a lesson that I would like to request that we as parents, that we as a global community, that we as a global civilization raise our children and our future generations into. Namaste. Thank you.